The September issue of Exceptional Parent magazine focuses on the elderly and those who care for them. Sign up for free and read it today at www.epmagazine.com.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Reach Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
Suicide is preventable, and each of us has a role to play in suicide prevention.
Suicide is complex. There is no single cause.
And it's not always a mental health issue. It could be loss of a job or home, financial or relationship issues, pain, or leaving the military.
Suicide does not discriminate. It affects all ages, races, and genders, veterans or not.
If you know a veteran who is struggling, connect with them. Let them know help is available.
There is quick and easy access to services in times of crisis.
Dial 988, then press 1. Talking about it is okay.
Don't keep it inside. Don't be ashamed. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran and your host. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubazoo Network. You can find out more on hubazoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asek of Asek Real Estate, Army National Guard veteran, Mark Holmes of Reapers Detailing and Power Washing, and my supporters, Cason Shaving Company and Exceptional Parent Magazine. Travis and Faye, thank you so much. We're back. It's the only way to describe it. It's November. We're in, the Veterans Day time, Thanksgiving time, and I am thankful to Rico for connecting me with Ben Monette. We've had 2 great conversations already. This is number 3 because we just couldn't pack everything into 1 hour. And I am never less is more. Less ammo is never more. Less budget is never more. Less time is never more. Less food is never more. It's just less is never more, ever. So to get more is more, we had more of Ben. So Ben Monette, Army veteran, Green Beret, and just all around savage. Welcome back to Oscar Mike Radio, sir. Thank you.
Hey, Travis, how you doing? Thank you again for having me. It's been an honor to go along this journey with you and to be able to share my story and talk with you. So thank you.
Absolutely no problem at all. And for those of you, I'll have the links to part 1 and 2 in this episode show post, and you'll understand, Ben's kind of like origin story, because this is the cool thing, Ben. I'm a big Batman fan. I like Lobo and a couple other, comic book characters growing up and still do, but it's nice to meet real life ones. And folks, this is a real life one right here in more ways than one, all seriousness. And so part 1 is, how Ben got to be Ben. And then part 2 is his, time with Treehouse Recovery. And then now we're going to talk about his new venture, Resilience Recon. So it's just, again, more is more. And Ben, we ended number two or part two with the fact that you had gone through Treehouse Recovery, what that all entailed. And then you were able to kind of like, for lack of a better term, restart your life. And
Yeah.
it led to other things. And you talked about that and you kind of, said there's a lot more that I've been able to do because of Treehouse Recovery, and Resilience Recon is one of those things. So just go into what Resilience Recon is and or how you got started with it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I began to work as a military outreach for Treehouse Recovery, I began to come across more individuals, more and talking to more individuals, and really understand the power of vulnerability and the power of being vulnerable to other people and helping other people. And I always knew, early on in this transition that was going to be uh, a part of my new journey. And so I started thinking, I was like, wow, these talking to these individuals, helping them, uh, and my time as a Green Beret, helping the indigenous forces, train them, kind of came together, and I started thinking, how can I do this on a bigger scale? How can I impact more people and stay in the mental health, underneath the mental health umbrella, and reach more people, talk to more people, and help more people, and provide uh, guidance, direction, lessons learned from my failures to more people. So I started Resilience Recon. And at first, looking back, and although it's been, I think, 4 months since I started it, it's changed drastically from day one. And that's part of the beauty of this journey of being an entrepreneur and starting something new. Um, but it's on the grand scheme of things and on the surface, it's a an executive motivational accountability life mental health coaching slash consulting company where I sit down and I talk to individuals, and I focus on the three C's, right? I focus on the connection, the communication, and then the collaboration aspect of that.
Starting something is its own like, wow, I'm going to start this. I'm going to hit the launch button and go. And it may be 4 months, maybe 4 years, but still you had to start. And it just sounds like you said, you know what, I have this experience, I have this way that worked for me. I want to share it. I'm just going to start it. But what was it like, filling out the paperwork and realizing, hey, there's an EIN attached to this now. I have all this, but now I'm going to try to make it a business. I guess what I'm trying to say is, what really made you say, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. I know I can do this. I'm just going to get started, because a lot of people never start. They never get off the starting line at all. And what made you start, Ben?
Yeah. Well, first, I mean, we've in the first two parts of this series, we've talked about the importance of community. And at first, I utilized that, and I bounced my thoughts off of my community, and I said, "Hey, do you think this would be a good idea? Am I getting too ahead of myself? Is it worth trying this?" And time again, I got the same thing. Is the hardest part is the first step, right? So I said, okay, and that's one of the things that I've learned throughout this, you know, short duration, but nonetheless a journey, is to seek guidance, to seek help, and not only seek it, but also listen to it. Because all that fear, all that the fear of the unknown, the reluctance was there, and I could have, asked that question, and then my fear trumped their answers. But when I continued to get the that, man, like this would be a great opportunity to show that, you know, you can, you know, overcome the difficulties and struggles that you endured, um, and you have something special and you can help, and actually listen to that and understand it and say, okay, well then I'm going to try it. And it was the day I said, hey, I'm going to do it, is the day I created my website. And I wish I would have taken a picture of my first website till now, because it adjusted so quickly, and um, all in a positive way. But I continue to ask questions. I continue to learn from individuals who've been doing it more than I have, or for longer than I have. And now I think it's at a sweet spot where I'm comfortable with the packages, the way I want to help individuals, and then now it's the patience game, the continuing to do the right thing. I don't have to, and doing it correctly. I think that's one of the main things is we were battling, and I battle this all the time. Is I want that immediate gratification, that immediate success, right? Just like what we talked about in recovery, it's a marathon. Uh, Creating a business and staying morally and ethically straight uh, is a marathon. And I didn't want to cut any corners. I didn't want to, offer something or, pay other people to do the work for me. Uh, so I so I did that, and it's slow, and but again, I'm a firm believer, if you continue to do the right thing, continue to help, uh, then the people who want to receive the help will come across my website and myself. Um, but I like it. I like the journey. I like talking about it. It's a passion of mine. I like talking about the my different packages of how I can help. You know, one specific package is, I think that we as active duty veterans, society has been able to compartmentalize their professional life, their work life, and their home life, their personal lives. And man, like, they're not. Like, there's so many times, whether you are an NFL star athlete or you are, someone who is working a 9 to 5 job, your personal life affects your professional performance. And I'm living
So,
true to
so,
that.
so wait a minute. I
Yes.
mean, a lot of times in the military and a lot of times in civilian professional, you know, work, your manager will tell you, my sergeant definitely told me that what happens off on Liberty does not affect what's going on in my shop. So you either go see the chaplain or I don't care. Now, come to find out, I'll amend that I got a different sergeant who was like, that's not NCO leadership. I'm not trying to get up in your business, but when I ask somebody how you and your wife doing, I need to know about that to see if there's any problems there. I need to understand if you're able to feed your family. So it was different how that's interpreted. But you really believe that, if I am having a bad time or even a great time, like the kids are all just, crushing it in school, and, the wife is loving life, that your professional life is going to reap the benefit of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I think yes, you'll see the benefit if everything's great. Oftentimes, I think that uh, throughout life, not everything is always great, right? There are hiccups. There are speed bumps in the road, financial concerns. Raising a child is difficult. Being a parent is difficult. There's times where you have to do, multiple things and allocate your time and resources accordingly. And so, yes, everything great. Your performance at work may sustain or be elevated a little bit, right? But I would argue that when things are bad and things are stressful and you're arguing with your wife, or your kids are getting in trouble, or you're doubting your parenting skills, that dramatically negatively impacts your performance at work because you're not mentally there.
Right.
And I've had this multiple times, whether it's at a training event, whether it's deployed. um, you know, I allowed my personal life to affect my professional performance. And it may not be of, whether or not I was able to shoot straight, or, conduct a combat operation, but was I all 100% focused and dialed in? Or was that there's some self-doubt, or while I was preparing for an operation or a training event, was my head elsewhere? So I'm a firm believer that, yeah, and I agree. I think there's two types of leadership: leadership that understand that and care, and then leadership that doesn't. And I believe the latter is a toxic leader, and that's my opinion. But as I continue to reevaluate my life and how I compartmented my personal life and my personal struggles, um, it affected my performance. And now, how do I prevent others from going through that same thing? And this isn't just for veterans; it's for any individual who is struggling with that. And that is the personal and professional growth that one of the packages I focus on is they work together. Oftentimes, you can focus on one and watch the other, diminish. And that's, for me, that's what happened as I continued to focus on my professional life, my personal life with my unhealthy behaviors, and my relationship, my inability to form and continue to thrive in a relationship suffered, right? But I was able to focus on my professional. Well, there's a balance, and it's achievable. We can achieve that healthy balance. There's a multitude of things to incorporate that, and there's many different variables. It's hard to list a lot of them. One is boundaries, is setting boundaries for yourself and for your partner. Understanding that talking with another individual about what they're going through oftentimes diminishes the pain, or diminishes how big you make it internally, right? When we're going through a problem by ourselves, it's our problem, it's internalized. We talk about it to ourselves, we catastrophize things, scenarios, situations. And when we're able to communicate it to other people, most of the time, that us hearing it, us communicating it, and us getting it out, um, you know, diminishes the significance or the importance that we place on it. So I like focusing on that. Is let's focus on let's do those things where we can increase your that balance between your personal and professional life. And it's just one of the ways that I like to approach that dynamic of personal and professional.
Let's talk about the packages.
Yeah.
You have several of them, and it seems, like a lot of things, that they're for different situations, different scenarios, different levels of involvement with your client or the people you're trying to help. And we've talked about one of them, but on an overall level, how did you make them? What was your mindset when you started saying, you know what, because I've talked to a lot of like life coaches in the last couple of years, and they can, if you just talk to them, they can fix anything going on in your life. Or, if you just, pay them $200 a month, your life's going to get better. And maybe that's the truth. Maybe that's the truth. I am not disparaging the life coach. I'm not.
Yeah.
But yours kind of like, you can tell you're kind of military because these are focused efforts, focused offerings for different things. So I'm just kind of curious, was that intentional? Did you want to do that?
Yeah.
What was behind that?
Um, yeah, first and foremost, I think one thing that if anybody does sit down and talks to me, they'll understand that I'm not going to solve your problems. I'm not going to, uh, in quotations, fix everything, right? Um, and what I'm going to do is we're going to talk. And I think that some coaches' approach is, hey, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to tell you what to do. And I think that for me personally, I never like to be told what to do. And oftentimes it's like, okay, well, you did XYZ. That means, I have to do XYZ. And that's not the case. So for me, it's a big on, let's talk through this. That's, if we're in person, great. We'll get a whiteboard out. If we're on a video chat, we'll take some notes and we'll really, dive down into the weeds. So how I came up with these 5 different approaches is I looked at my life and I looked where um, I excelled and where I failed, and really took a deep dive in where are the areas that I failed at, and how can I help others, prevent that failure or at least identify a potential mistake earlier on in their process or their journey. Um, so the first one is I took a step back and I looked at myself as a Green Beret and myself as where did I what did I do during my 8 deployments? Well, I was in, combat operations. I was in a tactical environment. And then as I transitioned more into the information domain, I was in a more of a strategic level where I had a more of a holistic or a macro approach to problems that not just affected my team, but affected the Middle East or even our country. So as I looked at that, I saw, well, I approach problems differently, right? And my ability to objectively look at a problem without emotions, identify solutions, and how to overcome uh, some of these issues through a strategic lens. So that was an initial one. It's like, hey, listen, like my approach to problems is different, and if you're invested in your own problems, issues, your own life, and rightfully so. And when you're able to talk to someone about it, um, and you two can collectively come up with solutions, that's where change happens, right? So that the first one was strategic decision making and leadership. Is how did I use that in my career, and then how can I uh, help you uh, use a strategic lens towards a specific problem. Um, and then the second one was, wow, it's mine was is different. So stress management, um, that is difficult, right? I was constantly put under stress and constantly uh, expected to produce under stress, right? We all know tracer burnout. We all get burned out, and that's okay. And it's going to happen. It's unrealistic to think that you can continue to grind and drive, at 100 miles per hour, day in and day out.
Is
So
it
how do we
is it
find
is it
that?
really, to put this in the vernacular, is it really
Yeah.
one of those things where all work and no play makes a dull boy out of Jack? Is
So
there,
see, I think you have to have some play.
well, right. That's why I'm asking. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can get trapped up in the grind. I know this. I've experienced this, and I'm like, I got to take the foot off the gas and just, like a bear term, play. So do you
Yeah.
kind of engineer that into your clients,
Yeah,
situation.
there has to be your time. You have to be able to be
Yeah.
in the present. When you're grinding, you're constantly thinking about, the next step, right? For me, it was that once I achieved the mountain, I earned my Green Beret. What was the next step? Ranger school. What was the next step? Dive school, and all these things. And I never really was able to give myself gratitude in that success that I earned. So when you're continuing to grind and continuing to focus on the future, you're going to lose sight of what you're accomplishing in the present moment, right? And I always say, identify your victories. Not every day has to be the Super Bowl. Not every day has to be a grand slam. And when we're able to identify these smaller victories throughout the day, we're able to identify progress that are being made, and B, give us that satisfaction, that gratitude that we are making progress. And if some days getting out of bed is the only thing you can do, then that is the victory. But when you're ingrained and you are on the grind and you're continuing to drive forward, sometimes you don't see that.
Right.
And sometimes that opens the door for the negative self-talk of, I didn't do anything today. Whoa, let's slow down. Did you get out of bed? Yes. Well, look, that's a victory. So helping individuals and clients understand that if you are taking an inch forward or a mile forward, that's still progress, and that's not you know downplay those smaller steps, because it's still important. So I saw that, how it affected me. So I do believe that you have to do things for yourself. You have to take that. You have to press pause, and you have to be in the present. Do things for yourself. Have fun, and in turn, that'll give you that rest and that reset that you need to go up to face those new problems, or face the current problem in a better mindset, mentally better, right? Um, so that's number two on the stress management. That's something that I did not do well. So that was easily added to my packages. The personal professional growth. I mean, we talked about it as finding the balance, but also knowing that, hey, like, I'm at my current state, but where's my future state? What is my goal here? And do I have a strategic plan in place to get there? And we can talk about it. That's again, throw things at the whiteboard. If things stick, great, we'll run with it. If not, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll continue to thrive. Accountability, big one. Right? If you can't hold yourself accountable, you open the door for bad habits. And accountability is tricky. When you're asking someone to hold you accountable, and that person does, what do we always do? We get defensive, right? That's a normal routine, is the yeah buts, or I was going to do this but I did this, or the excuses come. We become defensive, and it's a difficult conversation. So when I say accountability, when I'm asking, hey Travis, I want you to hold me accountable to getting out of bed, this is how I want you to do it, this is why I want you to do it, and this is when I want you to do it. Right? When I give you those specific guidelines and you're able to adhere to those, it's better received, and it's a win-win situation. And then secondly, with accountable, is ask someone else, hey, can I hold you accountable? Because it's difficult. It's difficult to have those conversations. It's hard. And when you hold someone else accountable and you're in that situation, A, you're going to understand how important it is. And B, you're going to learn ways that you want to be held accountable. So I really think accountability is a very important aspect in this. But we have to be specific, because when we're not, it just opens the door for becoming defensive and, making excuses. And I understand that things happen, life happens. But when we time and time again begin to make excuses, to others, we're going to start making excuses for ourselves, and that's not a good path to begin or to be on. And then navigating challenges, and for how I've created navigating challenges is we all have many different challenges going on in our lives. Life is a challenge, and I would love for just one challenge to be, at my doorstep at a time, and I can finish that and be like, okay, next. All right, you guys can come in. The next challenge can come in, but only one at a time. It doesn't happen that way. It often happens where, there's 4 or 5 challenges occurring at the same time. Well, are we going to try to face all the challenges at once, or are we going to prioritize them? We're going to sit down and say, hey, this is one that, I have a financial challenge. I have a, professional challenge that I don't like, how my manager is acting towards me, or how leadership is. I'm struggling with, my friend group, right? All these challenges. Well, let's prioritize them. Let's use the strategic decision making, and let's focus on one at a time. Because we can't solve all of our challenges, or at least work towards a solution, all at once. So we need to be focused and be able to, strategize through those and prioritize them. Hard to do when you're by yourself, very difficult. And when you're adding someone else in there, and they're like, well, what about how important this is this to you? And you're able to talk through it, you are really solving your own, you're really prioritizing it yourself. I'm just here listening to you and giving you a little tweaks left and right. So that's the strategic, I call it the power of 5 is one package. And something that's near and dear to my heart is recovery, right? As we've talked about in, the past episodes. So I said, how can I help others in that aspect? And how can I, provide something where a service where an individual is, focusing on mental health, but doesn't know where to start, or knows that mental health is important, but that's about the understanding of they know, hey, I know mentally I need to be more fit, but how do I do it? And that's where I come in, and I have called a recipe for healthy living. So this is under the mental health domain package, and I break it into 4 components. One component is community. I mean, I think we've hit it on the head. Is like, community is powerful. There's power in community, but have multiple communities. Be selective, be specific, be selfish. If you are part of a community that's not fulfilling your needs, then it's on you to find another community that's filling your needs. Having a friend group that wants to play golf every Sunday is a great community, right? That's great. But if that's not, if you're not receiving the needs from that community, if you can't have those man-to-man talks or those professional talks with that community, then it's your responsibility to go find another one. And then who is part of that community? Is it too big? Is it a massive community where you are a fly on the wall, or is it a smaller, more intimate community where your voice is being heard and your concerns are being addressed, right? So for the community aspect, there's a lot of different, we know that there's limitless potential as a team. In every aspect of our lives, especially in the military, we accomplish a task as a team. So when we are out of the military as a veteran, or we're part of a sales team or a team at work, let's work together, because there's power in numbers. So the community aspect, again, we know that it's essential. And then I have the emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence is being able to understand what's going on. How are you feeling, right? Being mindful of the the stressors that you are the stressors that you're going through, the way you're talking to yourself, being able to identify negative emotions, positive emotions, small victories, large victories, failures, all these things. It's difficult when you're a one-man team and you don't have that ability to communicate and identify. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
a lot of times when I hear emotional intelligence, and I've sat in classes, it's about being aware of other people's emotions and being able to read the room or listen to what is not being said. But in this case, this is interesting to me because you're saying that you have to identify and be aware of your own feelings and what those are. Is that really the first step? Because a lot of times, a lot of these classes are like, hey, you're in a situation, person's doing this. To develop emotional intelligence, you need to understand what these cues are. But you're going back and saying, hey, you've got to look inside yourself and identify what's going on with yourself. What made you go that route, Ben?
Um, well, you know, oftentimes in my career, I focused to hide my own struggles. I focused on others, right? I was able to ingrain or engulf myself in the other people's problems or what they were going through to hide and mask my own. And I 100% agree with you. I think it's very important to have that, interpersonal attunement is to understand other people's, having that empathy, being able to respect other people's emotions. But it's hard to do that when you're not respecting your own emotions and you're not respecting your own and personal attunement. And how can we be a value added or a added or a value to someone else if we're not a value to ourselves? So I agree with your statement of, yes, focusing outward, but we must focus inward first before we can focus outward and help others.
Interesting.
And then so I do that. I really, it's hard to, it's a hard transition. We've had a routine of focusing on other people, and that's a great characteristic to have that empathy, the caring of others. But we can't neglect ourselves, and we continue to do that. We continue to get in a routine and a habit of neglecting ourselves. Now, when our emotions are important, we don't know what to do with them. So being that mindfulness, having that understanding of what's going on internally, so we can work on ourselves, and then that will just add more value, and we'll be more able to help other people and be more attuned to other people once we're attuned to our own selves. Second on the emotional intelligence is perception shifting, and that's perception shifting's powerful but difficult, right? We're in the heat of the moment, life's upside down, and all we can think of is negative things, right? Or you get a flat tire. Oh, I'm going to be late to work. All this, I'm going to have to call a tow truck. Oh, I'm going to have to sit out here all day long, and all these things. And it's that habit that we continue to do. So I have these bunch of sentences, right? Our thoughts cause our actions, right? Our actions create results. Our results instill beliefs, and then our beliefs shape our thoughts. So it's an ongoing cycle, right? And any part of that cycle, if there's a negative aspect of that, we can either believe it, or B, we can shift our perception of it. If we don't get a sale, if we have a bad day at work, or if our kids are late to school because they don't want to get out of bed, and then that makes you late to work. Well, when you get to work and then now your boss, you know, is on you, is like, why are you late? Well, how do you think your mind is? Do you think you're ready to perform?
No,
Absolutely
no.
not. Right. And so And any of those cycles of, thoughts to actions, actions to results, results to beliefs, and beliefs back to thoughts, if something is negatively interjected into that, it can catastrophize it, go to the constantly, and then now we have negative thoughts about ourselves. Do we have negative beliefs about ourselves? So the perception shifting is able to find the positive in it. There's something positive in getting a flat tire, getting in a traffic jam, or showing up late to work because of your kid didn't want to get out of bed. Although it may not feel it at the time, there's something positive there. And if you can start practicing that shifting in perception and finding the positive out of an outcome or an event, you continue to do that more and more and more often. It becomes a habit. So when you start being able to, when it's a habit, when you start having those negative events in your life, you can use perception shifting subconsciously, right? And this is long down the line. This takes a lot of effort, but you're able to do that. Man, those negative beliefs start declining and decreasing, and I know personally, if you start having negative beliefs about yourself, you're going to start doing negative and poor decisions. You're going to make poor decisions. So I knew that. I saw that in my life. I didn't utilize perception shifting as frequently in the past as I do now, and it's great, and it works. All these things aren't an immediate fix. It's not like a snap. I do it once, poof, life's great, right? There's nothing like that out there that exists. I wish there would. I wish there was, but there's not. It takes practice. It takes making mistakes and continue, like a determination and resilience. So the last thing go ahead.
As you've matured these, I know it's only been 4 months, but I have to think that you started really thinking these out and playing these out before you launched your company.
Yeah,
You had to have
absolutely.
gone back and said, you know what, this helped me, I'm going to apply it here. This skill maybe didn't help me as much as I thought it was, like we talked about before, right? To get this done. And I'll have the website link, ladies and gentlemen, in Oscar Mike Rio's show post. But as these came to fruition, you realize you have something here that is yours, unique, and based on your experience. What's it been like? I'm kind of cutting ahead a little bit, but just tell me, what's it been like realizing, hey, this is done for now. I've got a base now. Now I can go out and start, taking this to more people. What was that time like for you, Ben?
That was that second step through the door, right?
Yeah.
The first step was, hey, let's start this. And then the second step was like, okay, I have something. I think it'll be beneficial to individuals. There's my second foot through that door. And then I started walking, and I started really deep diving into how I wanted to relay these out and how they can help. And what I've seen is, initially I saw, there's more parts to this, but as you can see, that I thought, well, I need to have all of them, right? My community portion of it has 4 different subcomponents. Emotional intelligence has 3. And I was like, well, I need to practice all of them. And I soon to realize, like, that's not realistic, right? That's not it's not feasible. But if I can implement 1 or 2 of these to start, and then find which ones work, and then implement 2 or 3 extra ones, after a little bit of a duration of time, I started seeing results personally. And there's some of these that I don't necessarily use often, but that I didn't want to take away, right? I didn't want to discredit those because that was me personally. And if someone else is like, well, no, I like, you know, the mindfulness portion. I like the being in tune to myself first, or I like the perception shifting, or the growth through adversity, which is the last of the emotional intelligence aspect of it. I want to focus heavily on that. Perfect. Great. Let's do it. Let's get this deep dive into that and do that. There's some of them towards the end of the education and the physical intelligence that I don't do often, but I started and I saw a little bit of benefit, but I also saw benefit in these other components. So what I wanted to do was offer a holistic package and be like, which ones will fit best for you? And then those are the ones that we can focus on. Because again, this is not this the way my approach is I'm not telling you what to do. Like there's, you know, even as a little kid, like you tell a little kid what to do, and he's like, well, no, I'm gonna do the other thing, right? So that was my approach. And as a military direct, leader approach is very, strict, authoritative, direct. Um, and I knew that that can work sometimes, but I also wanted to take a step back and have that methodical uh, approach where let's take a step, let's breathe, let's figure it out, let's focus on one or two of these components, and then nail those, really like iron out those and get those set, and then we can open up the other ones. But that's really focused on the ones that you want to focus on. So, given options is something that I knew I wanted to do because everyone's different. Everyone has different priorities, and yeah, that was something that I enjoyed offering. Saying, hey, listen, here's what I can do. If you want to intermix some of the Power Five with stress management or balancing professional and personal life with community or perception shifting, great. Let's create this package. It's customizable to you. Now we'll focus on them, and then that's how that'll promote change, and you'll see an impact because you're invested, I'm invested, and we're both moving towards a common goal.
Let's talk about the last one here. The
Yeah,
biopsychosocial spiritual model. At
yeah.
first, I thought is this science fiction or fact? But I like looked at it and I'm like, wow, okay, it's kind of, is it another take on mind, body, spirit, or what's
It
going on
is.
here with this? Because it's cool how you laid it out, and you know, I'm not an ASVAB waiver Marine. I'm an Air Wing Marine, but I could actually understand what you're saying here in plain, simple terms, which is one of the things I really want to emphasize to you and to people watching is you're not going to come here and get a lot of like weird terms and jargon. It seems like, Ben, that you have laid this out in easy to understand terms that anybody can relate to, which is difficult to do, but I believe you've done it, which is amazing.
No,
So
thank you. Yeah, it is. You know, we all understand easy to read language, and we oftentimes overcomplicate things, right? And my approach is simplify, because guess what? If you simplify these objectives that you want to create or achieve, it's a lot easier than oftentimes we always overcomplicate things. But the biopsychosocial spiritual model is really, you got the biology, right? You have that. That is you in the flesh. A lot of it's the working out, the mind, what is really happening when I work out. And you can go into, you know, what are you taking supplement wise? What is your biology look like? What is your parents' history? How is the relationship? You can go really in depth into the bio side of things. Um, the psych is really like the emotional intelligence portion. It's just another flavor of the psychological aspect of that, and how we approach it. The physical is, again, our body is in motion. We need it to keep in motion. We were born and we were genetically created, to be in motion. Even our way back ancestors, back at the first of time, we had to hunt, we had to fight, we had to survive, and all of that included motion. So when we aren't in motion, our body kind of doesn't know what to do, and we kind of get confused. Social, obviously, right? We have community, and again, can't hit that hard enough, right? In all of my programs, you are going to hear me say, what is your community? What does it look like? How is it serving you? Right. And then spiritual aspect is I've had different spiritual journeys, and I grew up in the church, and I believed, and then there's some times that I didn't believe as much, and there's some times that I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what to believe, and I was open, right? I was kept an open mind, and as I continue to grow older and experience life, I understood the power of having faith, having a belief of and being able to forgive, and all these different components of spirituality. I don't necessarily push spirituality on individuals, but I do urge them to take a non-biased look and do your own research. Look into different beliefs. Is this one, do you believe that? But because we all have to believe in something, right? And if your belief is I don't believe in anything, well, guess what? That's something, right?
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
So
If you choose
having
not
that
to
spiritual
decide, you
connection.
still have made a choice. That's the old Rush song.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and then to sum up the biopsychosocial model is I look at it as like all of them are four different glasses of, and if we've put all of our water into the social one, well, the psych, the spiritual is going to suffer. So you want to have, they're not going to all be equal. They're not all going to be 25% full, but you have to balance those, and you have to utilize and put time and effort in each one of those segments to have a more well-rounded life. Excuse me. So that's my last bit, is like, listen, like, don't focus on one. We oftentimes focus on the physical aspect or the bio side or the bio portion of it, but we're introverts and we sit at home all day long and we have no social connection. Well, that's gonna breed problems. So we need to have that balance, and we need to focus and look at it as an entire circle and not just a quadrant.
You started this. It's 4 months old, still, growing up and learning how to walk. But what is your goal as we, end 2024 and going into 2025? What goals are you trying to hit with your, business, this resilience recon for 2025? What would be, a good goal that you're trying to aim for, Ben?
Yeah. If you would have asked me that 2 months ago, I would have given you, I want 10 clients or 20 clients in 2025. And now it's since changed. I want to positively impact and help work with 10 people to change their lives. And the number is not really relevant. If I can change one person's life for the better, then it's a success for me. I enjoy working with individuals. I value it. I respect each and every one of someone that says, "Hey, let's work together on this." I feel I can do better, right? It's like, okay, great. Guess what? We can. And it's that mindset of, hey, I want this. I want to change for the better. I want to positively impact some aspect of my life. And so, long story short, 2025, I want to look back and say, I had a part in a lot of people's lives, and they are now living a better life because they contacted me and they talked to me.
Speaking of contact, how can people reach out to you and connect with you and Resilience Recon and what you're doing?
Yeah. So on the last page of Resilience Recon, you can contact me through that. It sends me an email. I'll get it directly back to you. We can have a phone call, video call, really to discuss what you're looking for. And obviously through social, Ben.Monette on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. And I have links on my website as well. Shoot me a message. We'll schedule a time and we'll discuss different what your goals are. And listen, if I can't help or if I don't feel like the right fit, tell me. I have a large, a pretty large network. And if you're looking for help and I'm like, I don't know if I'm the right person for that or that's out of my wheelhouse, guess what? I'm going to find you someone else that can help. So know that I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, of course I can help. Well, no, because I don't care about statistics of how many people I've came across my website or contacted me or that I say are clients or individuals. I want to help. So you will get honesty with me. You'll get vulnerability. I will never tell you that I knock it out of the park every single day. I still struggle. I still have bad moments. I still, spiral downwards and think negatively. And I implement these things, on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not perfect. I will never claim to be perfect. And I'll be always authentic with you. And I think that's something that's very valuable is having that authenticity. And sometimes I won't know the answer, but guess what? We'll find it together.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, look, folks, I told you more is more. You're getting more from Ben Monette. And this is not like somebody who sits up there and talks to you or talks at you. He's lived a lot of this, and you can see that in part 1 and 2 that I'm going to have on the Oscar Mike Radio show post. And we have, more coming. And Ben, I just want to thank you for sharing this because this is the aspect of starting. This is the aspect of keeping it going, an aspect of having to change to, kind of shape things the way you want them to go. So this is really great. I'm going to have the link to how to contact Ben in on the Oscar Mike Radio website post and the show post. Check it out. We're right in the Veterans Day Thanksgiving corridor. Let's end the year on a good note. Ben, this has all been good. I will see you next time. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we are mission in flight.
Remember on it teaches our mission. We care about it and we do it every day. But I think there are things that just hit you and give you a reason to go on. The theme for our 2024 for Reach Across America is Live with Purpose. It just seemed to fit in with the vows of the REAP, the 10 attributes that we feel represent our United States military. I thought, what a great opportunity to put those two things together and show our kids through how we act some of the things that can make their lives better, their communities better, and by doing that, the country better. For me, Live with Purpose, I think, it's a mindset. Set some guidelines and then go out and purposefully make life different, make a change. It's an opportunity to set an example.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.